In the beginning, before the world felt complete, there was only the faint whisper of being. Nothing moved quickly, nothing shouted or demanded. Time itself seemed slower, stretching softly in ways that were almost imperceptible. The vastness of existence spread quietly, not pressing against itself, not needing boundaries, yet already containing hints of the shapes it would eventually take. Out of this gentle, endless quiet, two presences slowly came to awareness. Uranus, the sky, stretched far above, wide and calm, expansive in its distance. He did not move violently or announce his presence. He simply existed, covering what was not yet land, reaching into the endless void with patient strength. He did not know of dominance or power yet. He was simply the sky, vast and watching, a silent roof over nothing, and yet containing potential for everything. Gaia, the earth, arose below him. She did not push or strain to take form. She simply became slowly and softly, a solid presence beneath the infinite sky. She felt Uranus' distance above, and she reached it toward him, gently, not in demand but in quiet connection. Their presence together formed a sense of place, a space in which something could eventually live, grow and move. Time had not yet been separated. Moments slid softly into one another, flowing without urgency, without a sense of now or later. There was no heat, no cold, no motion, no pause, only subtle being, stretching endlessly, and a quiet expectation that things would unfold eventually. Gaia felt a gentle pulse within herself. It was not rhythm exactly, but the suggestion of rhythm, like a slow heartbeat, barely noticeable, steady enough to give the impression of existence itself. She reached upward toward Uranus, and he reached downward not consciously, but naturally. A soft tension formed between them, not harsh or sharp, but like the gentle tug of wind on leaves, barely felt, yet persistent. From this connection, beings began to appear, slowly, in no hurry. The Titans arrived, each not as a sudden eruption, but as a gentle unfolding. Oceanus emerged first, moving endlessly but quietly, a slow current that circled the edge of the forming world. He did not roar or push, he simply flowed, a soft, endless water tracing the perimeter of the Earth's shape, soothing and constant. Then Hyperion emerged, a light that did not burn but illuminated softly. Not the bright sun as one might imagine, not sharp or searing, but a gentle glow, like dawn through thin clouds, enough to cast long, soft shadows and to reveal the contours of the world in quiet detail. Hyperion moved slowly, spreading warmth and soft brightness evenly, allowing the emerging life below to adjust gradually. Rhea followed, appearing beside Gaia with a calm presence. She did not demand recognition. She did not need it. She was gentle, nurturing, patient, and aware. She felt the quiet pull of Oceanus' waters, the slow light of Hyperion, and she moved beside them naturally, her presence adding calm to the growing world. Kronos emerged last. Not with urgency, not with loud decoration, but as a presence that suggested order. He did not rush to dominate. He simply existed as a measure of time, the slow inevitable passing of moments, quiet but continuous. Kronos' awareness was subtle. He noticed the other Titans, but he did not act upon them yet. He simply existed among them, a slow pulse beneath the calm of the world. The land below Gaia shifted gently beneath their presence. Mountains rose not suddenly, but slowly, stretching as though yawning into existence. Valleys formed between them. Softly, with curves like gentle waves, without jagged edges, without harsh cliffs, just a flowing pattern of earth settling into its own shape. Rivers began to trace the land in lazy, wandering paths, not rushing, not leaping, only slowly following the contours and the world, soft and unhurried. The air above was calm. There were no winds yet, but a subtle stirring suggested breath. It moved lightly across mountains and valleys, barely noticeable. Like the soft exhale of a body that sleeps without disturbance. In this calm, the world waited, ready to receive the first hints of change. Kronos observed this quietly. Time, he realized, had a weight he had not considered. It did not push. It did not pull. Moments slipped gently into one another, carrying everything with them. He wondered, not anxiously but contemplatively, whether controlling this flow would matter. For now, he simply watched, letting the calm of the world settle into his awareness. Gaia's presence remained steady beneath them all. Her surface was warm, soft, and receptive. She did not demand action. She did not resist change. She simply allowed the titans to exist atop her surface, each contributing to the slow unfolding of life, slowly weaving a web of quiet interactions that no one yet understood. The first animals began to emerge. Not suddenly, not fully formed, but like soft whispers of life. Tiny creatures slid out of water and soil, moving carefully, guided by the gentle currents of Oceanus and the soft light of Hyperion. They did not rush. They did not flee. They simply explored in slow curiosity, sensing the calm rhythm around them. Even the skies above were aware of this. Clouds drifted softly, not dense or threatening. Simply floating, stretching across Uranus' wide expanse, reflecting gentle light below. There was no storm, there was no chaos, only the soft, subtle shifting of shapes and shades, calm and continuous. Kronos felt the slow repetition of moments pressing against him. Swallowing them, he realized, would give him control. But he did not act immediately. Instead, he measured, softly, quietly, letting each moment arrive and pass in its own gentle way. He noticed Rhea. Quiet, calm, patient beside him. She did not question him. She did not challenge him. She simply existed, allowing the slow flow of life to continue. Moving with the subtle rhythms of the land and the sky. Oceanus waters traced the edges of the world again and again. Each lap was almost imperceptible. A motion so slow that only the most attentive eye would notice a shift. Currents curled gently into pools and inlets, and the sound of water against earth was soothing. Continuous, like a quiet lullaby for the emerging world. Hyperion's light shifted gradually as the titans moved. Shadows lengthened, then receded. Soft reflections of land and water created patterns that seemed to breathe with the pulse of Gaia. Light and shadow did not battle. They merged. They complemented. They moved at the pace of the world itself. Kronos observed. Time did not yet require enforcement. It moved freely, flowing beneath the calm surface of existence. Yet he could feel its presence, heavy and inevitable, nudging gently against all things. He understood that in the quiet, even patience carried weight. Gaia's breath, subtle but constant, carried the rhythm of life to everything above her. Trees, though small, stretched toward the gentle light, their roots feeling the steady warmth beneath. Soil shifted minimally under the weight of growth, and the slow pulse of life became apparent in the pattern of leaves, water, and stone. Rhea's soft laughter, almost a whisper, traveled across the land. It was not loud, it was not joyous in the way humans would later describe joy. It was quiet. Content, like noticing that the world was moving without harm, like understanding that it could exist gently, softly, without rush. Kronos felt it too. He did not act against it. He merely observed, letting the calm settle within him. The world was quiet but aware. The titans existed without conflict, without ambition, without demand. Their power was present but dormant in patience. Time, he realized, could be held without force. Kronos felt this subtly. Like pressure in the chest that does not hurt, only reminds. Moments passed. Children would come. Life would continue. But for now the rhythm itself was enough. The first hints of plants appeared. Grass emerged, curling lightly across hills and valleys, bending slightly under the soft pull of unseen wind. Flowers, tiny and delicate, unfurled slowly, not in haste but as if savoring the act of existence itself. Oceans and rivers reflected light differently each moment, changing ever so slightly, forming patterns that whispered the first lullabies of the world. Waves moved with gentle repetition, the sound soft enough to encourage rest in any creature nearby. Even the sky noticed. Uranus stretched, expanded, softened in response to Gaia, Oceanus and Hyperion. Clouds moved slowly, like thoughts drifting lazily across consciousness. There was no storm. There was no rush. Only space, light, water, earth, and the rhythm of quiet existence. Kronos allowed the moments to continue, letting each one settle before the next arrived. He did not interfere. He did not act. He understood now that patience itself could be the strongest form of control. Rhea watched the slow unfolding of life. She felt each creature, each plant, each wave, each breeze, and understood that even the smallest action, when done in calm, carried significance. She moved without haste, spoke without urgency, and let the world find its balance naturally. Oceanus flowed endlessly, Hyperion shone softly, Kronos measured time, Rhea nurtured, Gaia held the ground. Together they created the first sense of balance, not in action or conflict, but in quiet being. And as night began its first soft approach, the world exhaled. Settling into calm, Kronos had taken his place quietly. He did not move with haste, nor did he demand recognition from the other titans. Time itself flowed softly around him, stretching and folding in subtle waves, and he became aware of it in a way that was gentle yet persistent. The world did not need to rush. The mountains had already begun to settle. The rivers, though young, traced slow patterns, bending and curving with effortless patience. Kronos observed Oceanus first. The water moved endlessly, but it moved softly, curling along the edges of the emerging land, filling valleys and low plains without haste. He could feel the gentle push and pull, the silent rhythm of tides that carried potential yet offered calm. It was not violent. It did not surge unnecessarily. Instead, it whispered, soft and slow, a quiet lullaby to the land it touched. The light of Hyperion moved across the terrain, illuminating shapes without harshness. Shadows formed but did not bite. Light fell like warm fingers brushing softly over grass and stone. Kronos noted the subtle changes in temperature. The slow warmth that encouraged life to stretch and awaken without urgency. Even the air felt thicker with calm, carrying soft moisture from Oceanus and caressing the contours of the land in gentle patterns. Rhea appeared beside him. She moved softly, unhurried, aware of the pulse of life emerging from Gaia's surface. She touched the soil with care, her fingers resting lightly on the surface, as if she were testing for the world's heartbeat. Each plant, each tiny sprout, seemed to sense her presence, and they did not need guidance to grow. They responded naturally, following their own slow rhythms. Kronos considered Rhea's gentle approach. He had power, but he did not wield it. Instead, he let moments pass naturally, letting time flow like a river bending through gentle hills. There was no urgency in his movements. Each titan seemed to exist in harmony, their presences balanced without conflict. The first animals began to stir. Tiny creatures emerged from soft soil and shallow waters. Their steps were measured, tentative, careful. They were not hurried, they did not flee long enough. Kronos' time allowed them to explore without fear, their movements becoming part of the slow pattern that shaped the emerging world. Above, Uranus watched calmly. His expanse stretched wide and distant, soft in its presence. The sky did not demand, did not press, did not thunder. He simply observed. The clouds drifted lazily, forming soft shapes that mimicked the curves of mountains and valleys below. Shadows danced faintly across the terrain, blending gently with light, never overwhelming it. Oceanus waters carried reflections of the sky. The mirrored light moved slowly, rippling gently across pools and streams. Each ripple was soft, barely noticeable, yet steady, like a pulse flowing quietly through the veins of the world. Kronos noticed this, recognizing the subtle connection between water, light, and time. Every movement, every reflection, carried a whisper of rhythm. Gaia's presence was steady beneath them all. Her earth held the weight of mountains, rivers, forests, and plains without strain. Soil shifted only where necessary, settling around roots, streams and rocks. Small plants pushed upward, curling toward Hyperion's soft glow. Trees stretched slowly, branches swaying with a gentle breeze that had barely begun to stir. Kronos breathed slowly. He realized that time itself could be observed, not controlled. He did not need to dominate the moments. He did not need to measure or enforce. The gentle unfolding of life, of mountains, rivers, animals, and light, was sufficient. He simply allowed it, witnessing the slow growth of the world without interference. Rhea knelt beside a small stream. She observed the water curling around stones. She reached her hand into it, letting it ripple softly through her fingers. The sound was delicate, like a lullaby, and Kronos felt its calming influence. The water did not leap, it did not crash. It moved deliberately, softly, naturally. The world listened to this gentle rhythm, absorbing it in every stone, every leaf, every small creature. The light of Hyperion shifted slowly as the day progressed. Shadows lengthened then receded. Light filtered through early trees, creating patterns on the earth that were ever changing yet soft, never abrupt. The subtle warmth encouraged growth, and the world responded without urgency. Every plant, every tree, every creature adjusted naturally, moving in quiet harmony. Kronos observed his own reflection in a still pool of water. Time seemed almost tangible here, bending around him, stretching endlessly in quiet arcs. He did not feel burdened. He did not feel compelled to act. He understood that moments could be watched, allowed to flow, nurtured without force. The presence of Rhea, Oceanus, Hyperion, and Gaia formed a web of calm that he did not disrupt. Animals moved softly across land and water. Tiny mammals shifted through tall grasses. Insects crawled carefully along leaves, fish traced lazy patterns in calm waters. Nothing rushed, nothing panicked. The subtle pulse of time carried them safely, encouraging exploration without threat, movement without haste. Gaia exhaled slowly, a gentle vibration beneath the feet of the Titans. Mountains seemed to stretch imperceptibly. Valleys deepened without effort. Rivers curved in more intricate paths, carrying nutrients and shaping the earth as they moved. Kronos felt this pulse beneath him, and realized that time could be a nurturing presence rather than a force of constraint. Even the clouds moved softly above, drifting without wind, changing shape as they passed, reflecting light from Hyperion. The sky remained wide and calm, offering space for everything below to exist without pressure. Uranus did not interfere. He simply stretched across the horizon, expansive and patient, holding everything beneath in quiet watchfulness. Kronos noticed small patterns emerging. The slow growth of grass along riverbanks, the bending of trees toward sunlight, the curling of streams into small pools, all of it was part of a quiet order. No one enforced this order. It formed naturally, nurtured by calm, steady awareness, and the gentle passage of time. Rhea's touch remained soft and deliberate. She moved through small plants, lifting a leaf, feeling the warmth of the soil, observing the direction of growth. She did not change it. She did not force it. She merely provided presence, patience, and attention, which was enough to encourage life to continue naturally. Oceanus waters reflected the sod across the land. Ripples carried gentle sound, soft enough to encourage rest in nearby creatures. The small animals paused to drink or explore and hurried, calm and attentive. Even the wind seemed slower, moving only enough to shift leaves and sway branches lightly. Kronos moved alongside Rhea and Oceanus, his own awareness flowing gently with the rhythm of the world. He did not impose force. He did not demand attention. Time itself was a quiet pulse, a steady current that guided everything without pressure. The Titans existed together in harmony. Each contributed subtly to the slow unfolding of the world. Nothing needed to be forced. Nothing required urgency. Mountains, rivers, forests, seas and creatures moved in quiet balance. The world had found its rhythm, soft and enduring. The sun, or rather, Hyperion's early light, shifted in slow arcs, moving gradually across the sky. Shadows deepened, then softened again. Each change was subtle, enough to suggest passage of day without startling the earth or its creatures. Kronos noted the calm repetition and felt its soothing effect on his awareness. Even small insects seemed to sense the flow of time. They moved deliberately, carefully, not rushing, not fleeing. Their tiny steps and flights added to the quiet rhythm, becoming part of the soft pulse of the emerging world. Gaia exhaled again. The earth beneath shifted minimally, settling roots and stones into soft patterns. Kronos could feel the gentle weight of growth beneath his feet, a slow, constant vibration that was comforting rather than demanding. Night approached gradually. Darkness did not fall abruptly but stretched slowly across the land, softening the light, blending with it, creating a subtle gradient from day to evening. Stars appeared faintly, like distant reflections of Hyperion's glow, soft and steady. Kronos observed Rhea resting beside him. She exhaled slowly, her presence radiating calm across the land. Oceanous waters reflected the fading light, rippling softly. The creatures of the land found places to rest, curling beneath grasses and stones, safe in the gentle flow of time. Even Uranus remained distant, calm, and patient. He did not demand motion or change, he simply observed, holding the space above, allowing the world below to unfold naturally. Kronos understood, finally, that control was not needed. Power was not shown through dominance. It existed in patience, in observation, in allowing moments to flow without forcing them. The quiet rhythm of life, guided gently by the Titans, formed an order far deeper than any rush or thunder could create. And so the first day slowly gave way to night. The air cooled, the rivers mirrored the sky, the forests whispered softly, and the animals slept. Even the smallest details, from the curling of a leaf to the gentle sway of grass, moved in quiet harmony. Kronos lay beside Rhea, feeling the slow pulse of time beneath him. Oceanous waters whispered a gentle song. Hyperion's light dimmed completely, leaving only soft starlight. Gaia exhaled, warm and steady, holding the world in gentle balance. The Titans rested. The world rested. The rhythm of calm existence continued, soft, unhurried, infinite. Rhea moved gently across the surface of Gaia's land. She did not hurry. Her steps were soft and deliberate, barely pressing into the soil, barely disturbing the blades of grass beneath her feet. The world around her was already calm, shaped by Kronos' steady pulse of time, Oceanus' endless, soothing waters, Hyperion's soft light, and Gaia's grounding presence. Rhea felt each one as a subtle rhythm, not loud or forceful, just persistent, gentle, continuous. She knelt beside the first small sprouts of grass, feeling the tender green blades between her fingers. She did not twist or bend them harshly. She did not force them to grow faster. She merely allowed her presence to be felt. As if her quiet attention whispered encouragement to the emerging life. The grass responded, bending slightly toward her, stretching slowly as if savoring the warmth and attention. Tiny flowers began to appear, delicate and soft, unfurling their petals gradually, opening as if for no reason other than to exist. Rhea watched them with patient eyes. The petals were pale at first, like the faintest suggestion of color, then deepened slowly under Hyperion's light. Each movement was measured, rhythmic, calming. There was no rush, no sudden burst of life. Everything emerged naturally. Deliberately, comfortably. Rivers flowed lazily through the land. They curved and bent with gentle patience, tracing the soft contours of valleys without hurry. Whispering across stones and grasses as they moved. The water's movement was soft and repetitive, a lullaby for the world. The small creatures who lived along its banks paused to drink, moved lightly across its edges, and returned to rest without fear or concern. Rhea noticed their slow exploration, and felt a warmth in the knowledge that life could exist without pressure. Above her, Hyperion's light shifted across the landscape, gradually illuminating hills, forests, and rivers. The shadows moved slowly, stretching, receding, folding over themselves like soft cloth. Light touched every leaf, every stone, every small creature with gentle persistence, not sharpness. The warmth of the light encouraged growth, encouraged calm, encouraged the world to exist at its own pace. Oceanous waters mirrored this gentle illumination. Ripples traced long soft patterns across the surface, reflecting light in shapes that shifted slowly and soothingly. The sound of the water against rocks was barely audible but continuous. A soft rhythm that complemented the pulse of time flowing beneath Kronos' watchful awareness. The small fish and creatures in the water moved leisurely, gliding with the current, participating unconsciously in this slow lullaby of life. Rhea observed the small animals who had begun to emerge. Tiny mammals moved cautiously through grasses, insects crawled along leaves, birds pecked lightly at the earth. Nothing rushed, nothing panicked. The gentle, persistent pulse of time allowed them to explore without urgency. The rhythm of life became a calm, continuous melody, with each living creature a note in the slow, soft music of the world. The mountains above the plains stretched softly, their peaks rising gradually without violence. Valleys deepened slowly, carved by rivers that moved with deliberate calm. The soil shifted gently, accommodating the roots of trees and plants, settling quietly around rocks and small stones. There were no jagged edges, no abrupt cliffs. Everything followed a smooth, unhurried pattern. Kronos watched from a distance. He did not interfere. He allowed the slow pulse of time to guide the world. He realized that control could be gentle. Observation alone was enough to maintain order. The small patterns emerging in rivers, mountains, forests and fields were proof of this quiet balance. Gaia's breath continued to flow beneath them. She exhaled slowly, sending subtle vibrations through the land. Rocks, soil, roots and plants responded gently, settling into positions that encouraged stability. The rhythm was soft but pervasive, a grounding presence that connected mountains, rivers, forests, and plains into a single, unified whole. Rhea wandered beside a small brook, watching water curl around stones and pebbles. She traced the current with her hand, feeling the temperature, the texture, the movement. Each ripple was delicate, quiet, steady. She did not interfere. She merely observed, allowing her presence to settle alongside the pulse of the water, enhancing the rhythm without altering it. The light of Hyperion changed slowly as day progressed. Shadows moved, shifting across the earth like soft waves. Light reflected in rivers, pools and dew on leaves, creating patterns that were delicate and subtle, not forceful or harsh. Rhea observed, noticing every detail, understanding that each tiny motion added to the balance of life. Animals responded to this gentle presence. They did not flee from light or shadow. Birds perched lightly, moving from branch to branch in quiet motion. Insects crawled slowly across leaves, exploring their surroundings carefully. Small mammals emerged from under rocks and logs, moving deliberately as they sought water, food, or shelter. Their calm behavior reflected the quietum that Rhea, Kronos, Oceanus, Hyperion, and Gaia had established together. Even the wind moved with restraint. It whispered through trees and grasses, barely stirring the leaves, adding to the gentle rhythm of the world rather than disrupting it. The sound of the breeze was soft, comforting, a natural lullaby that encouraged rest for creatures both large and small. Rhea knelt beside the first emerging flowers. Their petals opened slowly, curling outward as if savoring each moment. She traced them with her fingers gently, noticing the texture, the shape, the color. She did not change them. She did not force them. She only observed and allowed them to exist fully, softly, completely. The rivers continued their lazy paths, reflecting the sky above. The water moved in soft curves, circling stones and mossy banks. The sound of flowing water created a continuous background of calm. Small creatures dipped their paws or snouts in the water before moving on, participating in the slow rhythm of life without concern or hurry. Hyperion's light shifted, tracing long arcs across the world. Shadows moved gently, stretching and receding like waves. The warmth penetrated the soil, encouraging roots to reach downward, encouraging sprouts to stretch upward. Nothing moved too quickly. Nothing demanded attention and existed in perfect, slow harmony. Kronos felt the passage of time in his chest, steady and gentle. He noticed Rhea observing life in its quiet unfolding. Oceanus waters reflected light softly. Hyperion illuminated calmly, Gaia grounded everything beneath, and the mountains and rivers settled into a rhythm that required no force, no struggle, no loud assertion of dominance. Rhea's presence remained soft, patient, nurturing. She moved lightly across the land, touching plants, brushing leaves with fingers, kneeling beside streams. She observed animals moving gently, plants bending and stretching, rivers flowing in quiet arcs. Everything responded naturally. Nothing was hurried. Nothing resisted. As the day progressed, subtle patterns began to form. Grass along riverbanks leaned toward the water. Trees bent lightly toward Hyperion's glow. Streams shifted minimally to accommodate stones, creating gentle curves. The animals moved with awareness but without concern. The world existed in calm, flowing balance. Even as night approached, the light of Hyperion faded slowly. Shadows stretched longer, then softened again, blending seamlessly into the approaching darkness. Stars appeared faintly in Uranus' wide expanse, soft pinpoints of light that reflected in pools and rivers below. Rhea rested beside a small stream, feeling the gentle pulse of life around her. Oceanus whispered quietly, rippling over stones. Gaia exhaled slowly, holding the world in soft balance. Kronos observed the flow of time without interference. Hyperion's last light faded, leaving only the soft reflection of stars, and the gentle glow of residual warmth. The animals found safe places to rest. Birds nestled in trees. Mammals curled beneath grasses. Insects paused beneath leaves. Even the rivers seemed to slow, tracing lazy, continuous curves over stones. The wind softened into whispers. The world exhaled in unison, responding to the calm rhythm set by the Titans. Rhea closed her eyes briefly, feeling the gentle flow of the world. She did not sleep fully, but her awareness slowed, synchronizing with the rhythm of rivers, forests, mountains, and animals. Kronos felt it too, the gentle pulse of time spreading through the land. Oceanus whispered beneath his hands. Hyperion's light lingered softly on the horizon. Gaia held it all firmly but without pressure. Night deepened, settling slowly, entirely over the world. Darkness did not frighten, it did not rush, it simply arrived, blending with the remaining light, weaving everything into calm balance. The world lay in quiet, steady rhythm, and in this gentle, deliberate stillness, the second chapter of the slow, sleep-inducing story of Greek mythology came to its quiet. The land rested. The rivers rested. The animals rested. Even time itself felt calm. The world was prepared for the next chapter, arriving naturally, softly, slowly, without hurry, without urgency. In the continuous rhythm that would guide all of existence. Hyperion moved softly across the world, his presence gentle yet constant. He did not shine with urgency. He did not blaze. His light spread slowly, stretching across hills, rivers, forests, and plains, touching every corner of the land with warmth that was calm, soothing, and steady. The shadows of mountains stretched beneath his soft illumination, fading gradually as the day progressed. Nothing moved too quickly. Nothing disturbed the quiet balance that had been established. The rivers traced lazy, wending paths reflecting Hyperion's glow. They rippled gently over stones, weaving intricate patterns of light and water, almost imperceptible in their subtlety. The soft, continuous sound of water against stone created a rhythm that was soothing, like a gentle lullaby for the world itself. Small creatures paused beside the water, observing their own reflections before moving slowly onward, perfectly synchronized with the quiet pulse of the day. The trees stretched toward Hyperion's light, their leaves catching the glow delicately. Each leaf moved independently, swaying in a breeze that was barely present, barely noticeable. Even the smallest branches twisted slowly toward the warmth, growing gradually, carefully, following the soft encouragement of light without being forced. Birds perched quietly, their feathers catching the gentle glow, their movements soft and deliberate, adding a quiet life to the stillness of the forests. Kronos observed from a distant hill. Time continued to flow gently beneath his awareness, stretching moments slowly, letting each one arrive fully before the next. He did not act or intervene. The world moved in harmony. responding naturally to the rhythm that had already been established by Gaia, Rhea, Oceanus and Hyperion. The small patterns in grass, water, and forest reflected this balance, each element contributing to the calm flow of existence. Rhea wandered through a meadow, feeling the subtle warmth of Hyperion's light on her skin. The air was still, soft and almost tangible. She knelt beside a patch of soft grass, brushing her fingers across the blades. Tiny insects moved quietly beneath her hand, crawling with care, neither afraid nor hurried. She observed them without action, letting her presence be gentle, encouraging life to grow and exist without interruption. Even the mountains seemed to shift imperceptibly beneath Hyperion's glow. Peaks stretched slowly, the edges smoothing with the passage of light. Valleys deepened gently, carved not by force but by the patient hand of rivers and time. Rocks settled in subtle patterns, shifting minimally to accommodate growth and water flow. The world was moving, yet it felt stationary, a paradox of soft, deliberate unfolding. Oceanus waters mirrored the sky, reflecting light that shifted gradually as Hyperion moved across the horizon. Small waves curled gently against the banks, carrying soft sounds that mingled with the whispering leaves, and the subtle rustle of grasses. Even the tiniest movements were harmonious, synchronized to the slow pulse of time that Kronos maintained quietly. Hyperion's light fell softly on the emerging animals of the land. Tiny mammals crept carefully through grass, birds pecked softly at seeds, exploring without urgency. Reptiles basked lightly on warm stones, their movements measured, deliberate, perfectly timed to the rhythm of light and shadow. Every living creature followed the soft cadence of the day, their own pulses sensing with the quiet melody of life unfolding around them. Gaia exhaled slowly beneath them all. The vibration of her breath carried through roots, soil and stone, connecting mountains, rivers, forests, and plains into a unified whole. Each plant, each creature responded naturally, adjusting to the gentle rhythm without stress, without haste. Even the air itself seemed to hum softly in resonance with this pulse, brushing over hills, and through valleys with soothing consistency. Rhea observed the play of light on leaves. She noticed shadows stretching and fading across stones. She traced the subtle curves of flowers as they opened their petals slowly, deliberately, in response to the warmth above. Nothing was hurried. Nothing demanded action. Life continued at a pace measured by patience, by calm awareness, by gentle observation. Kronos continued his watch from the hilltop. He felt the slow unfolding of life beneath him, the soft patterns in rivers and streams, the quiet bending of grass, the gentle rise of mountains, and the deliberate movements of animals. Time itself was a subtle companion, stretching, folding, flowing, but never demanding. Its pulse carried the world forward while allowing everything to exist in harmony. The wind, soft and nearly imperceptible, stirred lightly through forests and across plains. Leaves rustled faintly. Grasses swayed in unhurried patterns. Even the clouds drifted slowly across Uranus' wide sky, reflecting Hyperion's light in gentle gradients that shifted imperceptibly, blending shadows with warmth. The world seemed to breathe in unison, each element a note in the vast, quiet melody of existence. Rhea wandered toward a riverbank. The water moved in gentle curls over smooth stones, carrying reflections of the light above in patterns that shifted gradually. She traced the current with her hand, feeling the subtle warmth, the faint pull of the flowing water. Tiny fish moved in lazy arcs beneath her touch, responding naturally, harmoniously. Nothing was hurried. Nothing resisted. The quiet rhythm enveloped everything. Hyperion's light began to soften as the day advanced. Shadow stretch receded, and blended in subtle gradations across the landscape. Every plant, every tree, every small creature moved in perfect harmony, adjusting to the gentle flow of time and the comforting warmth that touched everything without force. Oceanus whispered softly. The water moved with a delicate, continuous rhythm, curling around stones, reflecting light in gentle arcs, carrying hints of sound that blended seamlessly with the rustle of leaves. and the faint hum of insects. Birds perched lightly nearby, their soft calls barely audible, blending with the natural music of the world. Kronos felt the subtle repetition of moments. Time was flowing, yet each moment arrived fully, settled completely. Before the next began, he understood that this was the essence of control. There was no need for haste, no need for force. The slow, deliberate unfolding of the world created a balance deeper than any command could achieve. The animals moved with care. Tiny mammals crept beneath grasses. Birds flitted softly between branches. Insects crawled along leaves and soil. All movements were gentle, precise, perfectly integrated into the rhythm of the world. Nothing rushed. Nothing panicked. The quiet flow of life was sufficient for growth, for exploration, for rest. Gaia exhaled once more. Her soft breath carried through the soil, through the roots of trees, through the grass and stone. The earth responded with subtle shifts, settling stones, deepening valleys, stretching soil to support new growth. Mountains stretched imperceptibly. Rivers curved gently, creating pools and meanders that would nourish future life. The world was breathing, alive in a slow, patient pulse. Rhea knelt beside a group of flowers. They opened their petals slowly in response to Hyperion's warmth. She brushed her fingers over them gently, feeling the softness, the texture, the subtle colors. She did not act further. She did not force them to bloom. They existed fully. Gently, harmoniously. The rivers continued their lazy paths. The gentle sound of water lapping against stones blended with the whisper of leaves. The soft movement of grasses, and the faint hum of life in insects and small animals. The melody of the world was quiet, soothing, consistent. Preparing everything for the calm arrival of night. Hyperion's light shifted gradually toward evening. Shadows lengthened. The warmth softened. Trees and grasses leaned slightly toward the remaining glow, absorbing the last light of the day. The world exhaled once more. A collective sigh that rippled through earth, water, plants and creatures alike. Kronos watched. Time flowed gently, continuously. The small patterns that had emerged in grass, streams, rivers, mountains, and forests persisted, guided by patience and subtle awareness rather than force or demand. The quiet rhythm of existence continued, steady and unbroken. Night approached. Darkness arrived gradually, blending with the final remnants of light. Stars began to appear faintly in Uranus's sky. Delicate points of light reflected in rivers and pools below. The world lay calm, each living being resting or settling into the slow rhythm of night. Rhea rested beside a stream, feeling the pulse of life around her. Oceanous waters rippled, soughed slowly. Hyperion's light faded entirely, leaving a gentle starlight glow. Kronos observed the flow of time quietly. Even the air seemed still, holding the calm and balance of the day before passing into night. The first day's world had settled fully into harmony. Animals slept. Rivers slowed to gentle murmurs. Leaves barely moved. The wind softened to a whisper. The mountains, the valleys, the plains, the forests, the water, the soil, the stones, all lay in quiet, unhurried balance. The land settled into quiet balance as the sun, guided by Hyperion's gentle light, moved slowly across the sky. Nothing hurried. Nothing demanded. Valley, river, and plain existed in soft harmony. Each element responding naturally to the pulse of time flowing beneath Kronos' calm awareness. The world had begun to breathe in a steady rhythm, and every creature, plant, and stone participated in the slow dance of existence. Rhea wandered through the meadows, her feet brushing lightly across the soft grass. She knelt beside delicate flowers, feeling their tender petals between her fingers. They did not need instruction, they did not need guidance. They merely opened at their own pace, responding to Hyperion's warmth, Gaia's grounding presence, Oceanus's soft ripples, and the quiet passage of time. Rhea smiled faintly, acknowledging the perfection of this slow, gentle rhythm. Oceanus flowed endlessly, circling the edges of the land with quiet persistence. Its waters curled around stones, forming soft arcs and small pools. The gentle lapping created a rhythmic sound that mingled with the subtle rustle of leaves and the whispering grasses. Fish traced slow, lazy paths beneath the surface, their small movements reflecting the calm pulse of life. Even the tiniest ripple seemed to harmonize with the world's rhythm. Kronos observed from a hilltop, sitting lightly upon the earth. Time moved under his awareness, flowing steadily and softly, carrying moments without rush. Each second arrived fully before the next began. He did not need to control it, he did not need to force it. The slow unfolding of mountains, rivers, forests, and animals provided him with a sense of deep satisfaction. The world existed in perfect deliberate balance. The trees stretched gently toward Hyperion's light, leaves catching the warmth delicately. Branches swayed in barely perceptible arcs, guided by a breeze that was soft and infrequent. Birds perched silently on limbs, their movements deliberate and unhurried, adding a quiet life to the stillness of the forests. Insects crawled across leaves and bark, moving slowly, carefully, as if aware of the rhythm that governed all existence. Gaia exhaled beneath it all, a gentle vibration that flowed through the soil, the roots, and the stones. The mountains rose slightly, stretching in imperceptible arcs. Valleys deepened slowly, carved by rivers that meandered without voice, following paths shaped by patience rather than urgency. Soil shifted subtly beneath of growing roots and plants, settling comfortably into new positions. Rhea knelt beside a small stream, tracing the movement of water with her hand. Ripples curved gently around stones and moss, reflecting Hyperion's warm light in shifting patterns. The water moved slowly, deliberately, carrying subtle sounds that blended with the whispering leaves and soft rustle of grasses. Tiny fish moved lazily, perfectly synchronized with the current, their actions an unspoken echo of the world's rhythm. Even the smallest creatures moved in harmony. Tiny mammals crept carefully through grass. Birds hopped softly along branches. Insects crawled across leaves and soil. Nothing rushed. Each creature existed in delicate balance, participating in the slow pulse of life that had settled across the world. Hyperion's light shifted gradually, illuminating new areas of land and forest while shadows receded softly across mountains and valleys. The warmth penetrated the soil, encouraging growth without haste. Plants stretched toward the light, bending gently, unfurling leaves and petals with careful deliberation. Flowers opened slowly, absorbing warmth and light, adding quiet beauty to the world. Oceanus whispered softly. The water lapped gently against stones and banks, producing a subtle melody that mingled with the rustle of grass and leaves. Birds sang faintly, small notes that floated through the air without urgency, blending with the water's rhythm and the soft sway of the trees. Every sound, every movement, was part of the quiet symphony of life. Kronos observed patterns forming across the land. Rivers wound through valleys in smooth, deliberate arcs. Mountains rested in soft undulations. Forests stretched and spread without rushing. Even the creatures followed natural rhythms, perfectly integrated into the world's slow, harmonious pulse. Time itself was gentle, flowing seamlessly, carrying every moment with calm consistency. Rhea watched as small flowers opened their petals in delicate motion. She brushed her fingers lightly across them, feeling the softness, the warmth, the subtle textures. The flowers responded by bending gently toward her touch, not in obedience but in natural acknowledgement of her calm presence. The rivers continued their lazy paths, flowing around stones and small rocks. The gentle lapping of water against the banks created a continuous sound, blending with the faint rustle of leaves and grasses. Tiny animals paused beside the water, dipping paws or snouts to drink, then moving on slowly, integrating themselves into the natural rhythm of the world. Hyperion's light softened as evening approached. Shadows lengthened across plains, forests, and rivers. The warmth waned gradually, encouraging plants and animals to settle into the slow transition toward night. The subtle changes in light were almost imperceptible, like a soft exhale across the land, guiding every living being gently toward rest. Gaia exhaled once more. The vibration flowed through soil, roots and stone. Mountains shifted imperceptibly. Valleys deepened softly. Rivers curved to form small pools and gentle meanders. The earth itself seemed to breathe, a quiet pulse that connected every element of the world into a single, harmonious whole. The wind stirred lightly, brushing across hills and through forests. Leaves rustled softly, grasses swayed with barely noticeable movement, and clouds drifted slowly across Uranus' wide sky. The world seemed to move in tandem with the gentle rhythm set by the Titans, each element perfectly synchronized with every other. Animals moved with care. Birds perched quietly, hopping lightly between branches. Small mammals moved slowly through grass and foliage. Insects crawled along leaves and soil with measured steps. Nothing was hurried. Nothing was disrupted. Each movement contributed to the overall harmony of the world, forming a continuous, gentle melody of life. Rhea rested beside a stream, her presence calm, patient, nurturing. She observed the flowing water, the gently bending grasses, the soft swaying of trees. Everything responded naturally to her quiet influence, growing and moving without force, without urgency, without need for correction. Kronos continued his watch. Time flowed steadily, gently, continuously. Each moment arrived fully before the next, carrying everything in its soft, deliberate passage. The world's quiet patterns, from rivers to mountains, forests to creatures, persisted in perfect balance, guided by patience and observation rather than force. Even as night settled gradually across the land, the world remained calm. Stars appeared softly in Uranus' sky, their light reflected in rivers and pools below. The air cooled gently. Leaves and grass swayed minimally. The animals found secure places to rest. Everything exhaled, settled, and prepared for sleep, moving seamlessly into the rhythm established by the Titans. Rhea lay down beside the stream, her awareness slowing. Oceanus whispered softly. Hyperion's last light faded, leaving only the gentle reflection of starlight on water. Gaia exhaled, holding the world firmly yet softly. Kronos observed the flow of time quietly, content with the steady, deliberate passage of moments. The animals slept. The rivers flowed lazily, trees swayed softly. Mountains rested, valleys deepened subtly. Stones and soil settled. Even the smallest movements of wind and cloud integrated into the continuous harmony of the world. The land was quiet. Rivers curved lazily through valleys, brushing softly against smooth stones. Their gentle murmur was almost like a lullaby, barely noticeable yet persistent. A soothing sound that blended with the soft rustle of grasses and leaves. The air was calm, carrying a faint warmth from Hyperion's glow that had yet to fade completely. Brushing the earth in gentle caresses, Rhea wandered across the fields, her feet barely pressing into the soil. Each step was deliberate, measured, as if she were aware of every tiny creature beneath her toes. She knelt beside delicate flowers, tracing the edges of petals with gentle fingers. The flowers opened slowly, reaching toward the light in a patient, unhurried rhythm, perfectly in sync with the sauce of Gaia beneath them. Oceanus flowed quietly, endlessly. Its waters traced slow, curling paths along the edges of the land, forming gentle arcs and pools. Each ripple moved softly, creating subtle patterns of light and shadow. The smallest fish moved in lazy circles beneath the surface, following the gentle pull of the current, participating unconsciously in the quiet rhythm of life that surrounded them. Kronos observed from a distant hill, sitting lightly upon the earth. Time flowed steadily beneath him, soft and continuous, carrying moments without hurry, without pressure. He did not need to act. He did not need to interfere. The world was moving at its own pace, perfectly balanced by the subtle interplay of Hyperion's light, Oceanus' waters, Rhea's gentle care, and Gaia's grounding presence. The trees swayed lightly, their leaves rustling softly in a breeze that was barely perceptible. Branches reached toward Hyperion's warmth, stretching slowly, carefully, not rushed. Birds perched quietly, preening and pecking gently at seeds. Small insects crawled across leaves and soil, moving in measured steps. Every movement contributed to the harmony of the world, integrated into the steady rhythm that Kronos oversaw. Gaia exhaled beneath it all, sending subtle vibrations through the soil and roots. Mountains stretched slightly, rising imperceptibly. Valleys deepened gently, carved not by force but by patient shaping from rivers and wind. Stones shifted minutely, settling into positions that encouraged stability. The world was alive, breathing in a slow, deliberate pulse that connected mountains, rivers, forests, plains and creatures alike. Rhea knelt beside a brook, tracing the movement of water with her fingers. Ripples curled softly around stones and moss, reflecting Hyperion's warm light in delicate patterns. Tiny fish swam lazily, perfectly synchronized with the gentle flow of the current. The soft sound of water was a soothing, continuous melody, a lullaby for the creatures that paused nearby to drink or simply observe. Even the smallest creatures moved with care. Tiny mammals crept slowly through grass, feeling the warmth of the soil beneath their paws. Birds hopped lightly between branches, singing faint, soft notes that blended into the background. Insects crawled methodically across leaves and stones. Nothing rushed. Nothing panicked. Every living being was perfectly integrated into the slow, deliberate rhythm of life that had settled over the world. Hyperion's light shifted gradually, illuminating new portions of land, forest, and water while shadows receded softly across mountains and valleys. The warmth penetrated the soil, encouraging growth without urgency. Plants stretched toward the light, bending gently, unfurling leaves and petals in careful, deliberate arcs. Flowers opened slowly, adding gentle beauty and color to the landscape. Oceanus whispered quietly. Its waters lapped softly against stones and banks, producing a faint, soothing melody that mingled with the rustle of leaves, and the soft movement of grasses. Birds sang faintly in the background, their notes blending seamlessly with the natural sounds of water, wind, and earth. Every sound, every movement, became part of the slow symphony of the world. Kronos observed patterns forming across the land. Rivers meandered in smooth arcs, mountains rested in soft undulations, forests spread and trees bent toward the light. Animals moved in careful, measured ways. The entire landscape operated in harmony, guided by patience and observation rather than force or urgency. Time itself felt gentle, flowing continuously, carrying each moment fully before the next arrived. Rhea noticed flowers opening slowly, petals stretching and curving toward Hyperion's warmth. She touched them lightly, feeling their softness, their texture, their subtle colors. They did not need guidance, they existed fully, naturally, harmoniously, responding to gentle light, water, and care. The rivers continued their lazy paths, flowing around stones and curving along banks. The sound of water blending with rustling leaves created a soothing, continuous background. Tiny animals paused beside the water, drinking slowly, moving gently, perfectly integrated into the rhythm of the world. Hyperion's light softened as the day progressed. Shadows stretched, lengthened, and blended seamlessly into surrounding shapes. Trees leaned slightly toward the remaining warmth, absorbing light in measured increments. The air remained calm, carrying subtle warmth and the faint scent of soil, water, and flowers. The world exhaled slowly, preparing itself for the transition to night. Gaia exhaled, radiation flowed through mountains, valleys, soil, and stone. Rivers curved to create small pools, roots settled firmly into the earth, and stones shifted softly to accommodate growth. The land seemed to breathe as one, its pulse connecting every living and non-living element into a continuous, harmonious whole. The wind moved gently, brushing softly across hills and forests. Leaves rustled faintly, grasses swayed with minimal motion. Clouds drifted lazily across Uranus, a sky reflecting Hyperion's light in soft gradients. The world's rhythm remained unbroken, every element synchronized in gentle harmony. Animals continued to move carefully. Birds perched lightly, hopping softly between branches. Small mammals crept slowly through grass and foliage. Insects crawled deliberately across leaves and stones. Nothing was hurried. Nothing was disrupted. Each movement contributed to the quiet harmony of the world, creating a continuous, soothing melody of life. Rhea rested beside a stream, her presence calm and nurturing. She observed the water, the swaying leaves, the bending grasses. Everything responded naturally to her quiet attention, growing and moving without force, without urgency, without need for correction. Kronos continued his watch. Time flowed steadily, softly, continuously. Each moment arrived fully before the next began. Rivers, mountains, forests, animals and plants persisted in perfect balance, guided by the gentle pulse of observation and patience. Night arrived gradually. Darkness blended softly with the last remnants of light. Stars appeared faintly in Uranus' wide expanse, mirrored in rivers and pools below. The world lay calm, creatures settled into safe places, and the gentle rhythm of life continued without interruption. Rhea lay beside the stream, feeling the pulse of life surrounding her. Oceanus whispered softly. Hyperion's last light faded completely, leaving only the faint glow of starlight on water. Gaia exhaled, holding the world firmly yet softly. Kronos observed time's gentle flow, content with the slow, deliberate unfolding of life. Animals slept, rivers murmured softly, trees swayed gently. Mountains rested. Valleys deepened imperceptibly. Stones and soil settled. Even the wind moved with subtle restraint, all contributing to the world's quiet balance. The land moved quietly beneath the soft warmth of Hyperion's light. Rivers traced their lazy curling paths, bending gently around stones and small hills. Their quiet ripples created a subtle sound, gentle and continuous, soothing the small creatures along their banks. The air was calm and still, carrying the faint warmth of the sun, brushing over leaves and grass, rustling branches only slightly. Nothing rushed, nothing demanded. The rhythm of the world unfolded slowly, deliberately, naturally. Rhea walked softly across a meadow, her footsteps light upon the grass. She knelt beside a cluster of flowers, observing them with careful attention. Petals unfurled slowly, reaching toward the light, curling with grace and patience. She did not disturb them. She did not push them. She only observed, letting her calm presence encourage the flowers to grow at their own pace. Each small bloom responded naturally, slowly, deliberately, a quiet dance of life. Oceanus flowed endlessly along the edges of the land, its waters curling gently around stones, forming small, calm pools. The surface reflected Hyperion's light softly, creating delicate patterns of shimmer that shifted with the current. Small fish swam lazily, tracing gentle paths through the water, barely moving yet fully alive in the rhythm of the flowing streams. Even the tiniest ripple carried a quiet sense of continuity, adding to the overall calm of the land. Kronos observed from a hilltop, sitting lightly upon the earth. Time flowed under his awareness like a gentle stream, stretching moments softly, carrying each one fully before the next arrived. He did not need to act, he did not need to force change. The mountains, rivers, forests and plains unfolded naturally, in a quiet balance orchestrated by the combined presence of Hyperion, Rhea, Oceanus and Gaia. Every element was in perfect deliberate harmony. The trees swayed slowly, their branches moving in soft arcs as leaves rustled faintly in the gentle breeze. Birds perched quietly among them, pecking gently at seeds or preening without urgency. Insects crawled along leaves and stems, moving slowly, carefully, as if aware of the soft rhythm guiding the world. The forest itself seemed to breathe in time with the pulse of the land, creating a sense of calm that touched every corner of the earth. Gaia exhaled beneath it all, sending subtle vibrations through soil, roots, stones and mountains. Valleys deepened gently, rivers curved to form soft arcs, and mountains stretched imperceptibly. The earth itself seemed to breathe as one living entity, every root, stone, plant, and creature connected in a slow, deliberate, unbroken rhythm. Life moved naturally, fully, harmoniously, guided by patient observation rather than force. Rhea knelt beside a small stream, tracing the movement of water with her fingers. Ripples curved gently around stones and moss, reflecting Hyperion's soft glow. Tiny fish swam lazily, synchronized with the current in perfect harmony. The sound of flowing water mingled with the faint rustle of leaves and grasses, producing a quiet melody that seemed to envelop the land itself, lulling it into soft calm. Even the smallest creatures moved in harmony with the world. Tiny mammals crept slowly through grasses. Birds flitted softly between branches, their wings barely moving. Insects crawled along leaves and soil in careful steps. Nothing was rushed. Nothing panicked. Each living followed the gentle pulse that flowed through the world, integrating fully into the quiet, deliberate rhythm of existence. Hyperion's light shifted gradually, illuminating new portions of the land while shadows receded softly. The warmth penetrated the soil, encouraging growth in plants without urgency. Grass stretched, leaves unfurled and flowers opened slowly, petals reaching outward with deliberate patience. Each element moved naturally, synchronized with the flow of time that Kronos maintained quietly. Oceanus whispered gently. Its waters lapped softly against the banks, carrying the faint, soothing sound of movement. Birds called softly to one another, their notes blending into the background of rustling leaves and gentle waves. Every sound, every motion, added to the overall calm, forming a continuous, soft melody of life that filled the air and water. Kronos watched patterns forming across the land. Rivers meandered with smooth soft curves. Mountains rested in gentle undulations. Forests spread quietly, their branches bending toward the light. Animals moved carefully, deliberately. The entire landscape operated in harmony, each element supporting the others, each step in the rhythm of life perfectly timed to the pulse of existence. Rhea observed flowers opening slowly beneath Hyperion's light. She brushed her fingers lightly over the petals, feeling their softness, their textures, their subtle colors. They responded naturally, bending gently, stretching upward, without force or guidance. Life continued, patient and unhurried, perfectly balanced in its slow unfolding. Rivers traced their lazy paths through valleys, curling around stones and soft banks. The gentle lapping of water blended with the rustle of leaves and grasses, creating a soothing, continuous sound. Small animals paused beside the water, dipping paws or snouts, then moving on in deliberate, measured steps, integrated perfectly into the world's rhythm. Hyperion's light softened as evening approached. Shadows lengthened and blended with the last remaining warmth, creating subtle gradients across plains, forests, and rivers. Trees leaned slightly toward the light, absorbing it in gradual, deliberate increments. The air carried the faint warmth and scent of soil and water, guiding the world gently toward night. Gaia exhaled once more. The vibration flowed through mountains, valleys, and soil. Rivers curved, forming small pools and gentle meanders. Roots settled, stones shifted softly to accommodate growth. The land breathed as one, connecting every element into a continuous, harmonious whole. The wind moved lightly, brushing across hills and forests. Leaves rustled faintly, grasses swayed, and clouds drifted lazily across Uranus' wide sky. The world's rhythm remained uninterrupted, each element perfectly synchronized with every other. Animals moved with care. Birds perched quietly, hopping softly between branches. Small mammals crept slowly through grass and foliage. Insects crawled methodically across leaves and soil. Nothing was hurried. Nothing was disrupted. Every movement contributed to the quiet harmony, forming a continuous, gentle melody of life. Rhea rested beside a stream, her presence calm and nurturing. She observed water ripples bending leaves and swaying grasses. Everything responded naturally to her quiet attention, growing and moving without force, without urgency. Kronos continued his quiet observation. Time flowed steadily, softly, continuously. Each moment arrived fully before the next began. Rivers, mountains, forests, animals, and plants persisted in perfect balance, guided by the gentle pulse of observation and patience. Night arrived gradually. Darkness blended softly with the fading warmth of Hyperion's light, Stars appeared faintly in Uranus' sky, mirrored in rivers and pools below. The world lay calm, creatures settled into safe places. The gentle rhythm of life continued without interruption. Rhea lay beside the stream, feeling the pulse of life surrounding her. Oceanus whispered softly. Hyperion's light faded completely. Gaia exhaled, holding the world firmly yet softly. Kronos observed time's gentle flow, content with the slow, deliberate unfolding of life. Animals slept. Rivers murmured softly, trees swayed gently, mountains rested, valleys deepened subtly, stones and soil settled, even the wind moved with restraint. All contributing to the world's quiet balance. The land was still, cradled in the gentle light that lingered faintly from Hyperion's slow descent. Rivers wound lazily through valleys, brushing softly against the edges of stones and moss. Their quiet, continuous ripple created a gentle, soothing rhythm. Like a lullaby whispered across the world. The air carried a soft warmth, brushing lightly across leaves and grass, barely moving them. But enough to remind the world of its calm vitality. Nothing rushed. Nothing disturbed the slow pulse of life. Rhea moved carefully across a quiet meadow. Each step deliberate, her feet pressing lightly into the grass. She knelt beside tiny flowers, observing their soft unfurling petals. They did not hurry. Nor did they seek guidance. They opened at their own pace, stretching toward the faint warmth and light, as naturally as the breeze moved through the grass. Rhea traced her fingers gently over the leaves, feeling the delicate textures, the subtle curves, the softness of life. Her calm attention encouraged existence. Without haste, without urgency, without need for control. Oceanus flowed quietly, curling around smooth stones and small hills, forming gentle arcs and calm pools. Each ripple moved softly, producing faint, soothing patterns of reflection on the water's surface. Tiny fish moved lazily beneath the surface, swimming in careful arcs that matched the rhythm of the river. The soft sound of water lapping against stones, the subtle shimmer of light reflected in its surface, combined into a gentle melody that spread across the landscape. Even the smallest ripple seemed to be part of the slow, deliberate pulse of life that filled the world. Kronos observed from a distant hill, sitting lightly upon the earth. Time flowed under his awareness like a soft current, stretching moments, carrying each fully before the next began. He did not need to act. He did not need to push or pull. The world unfolded naturally, perfectly balanced by the careful interaction of Hyperion's warmth, Oceanus' flow, Rhea's calm presence, and Gaia's grounding essence. Mountains, valleys, rivers, forests, and plains moved in perfect, deliberate harmony,